Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reap the Spoils. I'm Mark Sullivan.
I'm Delilah Lugo.
And I'm Jason Kwasnicki.
And, Delilah, what are we talking about today?
We're continuing our discussion about the Last of Us HBO show,
More?
episodes 5 and 6.
There's so much of this show. We're
Isn't
talking
it
about all
isn't
these
it funny,
episodes.
Delilah, how it goes from guys, I need to talk about this, we need to do episodes, to now it is our weekly homework.
It's homework, exactly.
Hey, I will preface this up top. I'm putting on a bit of a show here. I actually quite liked these two episodes. So we'll
I
Fair
like
enough.
6 at least.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the next two episodes in our coverage of The Last of Us season 2. Those episodes are 5 and 6, titled Feel Her Love and The Price. So, if you haven't watched or if you haven't listened to Reap the Spoils before, if you have no idea what this show is, Reap the Spoils is a semi-monthly spoiler cast where we will talk about a video game we've played or about a show related to video games that we've watched or a movie in the same nature. In this case, it's a television show. It's The Last of Us, season 2, available on HBO Max. Actually, currently just Max, but soon to be HBO Max again.
Again,
Yeah.
Can
yeah.
you guys believe that? What the
It's-
fuck?
Old enough to remember when Max was the porno HBO and HBO was the actual HBO.
Oh my
Somehow,
god.
somehow the CEO thought it great to, change the streaming service to Max.
Go watch the latest episode of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver to hear some about that too, because he does dig into that. Also available on Max, soon to be HBO Max again. But anyway, if you haven't watched The Last of Us season 1, or if you haven't watched all episodes of The Last of Us season 2 up until episode 6, I highly encourage you pause this episode of this show, go and watch all of that, and then come back and listen to us spoil it and talk about it. Because I don't wanna sully your experience, sully your expectations of this show by having us be the thing that spoils it all for you. But if that's what you want to do, I'm not your dad. You feel free to, and neither is Joel to Ellie. So if that's what you want to do, I can't tell you otherwise. I really can't. I just can't do it. So, that being said, you guys ready to dig into these two episodes?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm
Now,
always ready.
always Jason always ready.
ready.
Kwasnicki over there. Yeah, so is there any reason to break sequence with, because I know last episode Delilah was like
I know.
hot button topic, like we got to talk about the I'm immune, I'm pregnant, let's bang thing. But with these episodes, can we safely start with Feel Her Love, episode 5?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I mean, how did you guys take this episode? What did you guys think? Top level? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Why? Let's get into it.
I think I enjoyed it more, which is not saying much, but
There was more action, probably, because this is why.
there's more
I
action.
don't know. There was plenty of action at the end of episode 4, if you know what I'm saying.
I really like ground zeros, like them showing the way the spores, them introducing the spores and stuff like that. But there was a very pivotal scene in that episode that didn't do well with me. And I think just generally after watching episode 5 and 6, I've come to the realization that I don't mind Bella Ramsey's as young Ellie, but as old Ellie, it really doesn't work for me.
The actress who plays Abby in this should have been Ellie. They should have swapped actresses.
Yeah, and I because episode 5 goes into like young Ellie again, I was like, okay, yeah, this is actually working better for me, and it just kind of cemented that opinion a little bit more. So there were things I liked about episode 5, and there were things I didn't like, and I suppose we can get into it when you guys share your top level thoughts.
Just real quick on that intro, you mentioned the ground zeros. Like the idea of the scene yeah, is interesting, especially considering like for us playing the game, spores is just the norm. So now they're kind of introducing it here. Um,
Yeah, it was the norm since the first part of the game.
the
And
thing that really like put me off at the beginning though is that we're watching a scene of two people we don't give a shit about talking about something interesting that happened, rather than just seeing the thing happen. Like it's very much, and this has been a theme throughout this season. How much talk or tell don't show they've been doing, and it's
Mhm.
really starting to get irritating.
I
Mm.
thought so. I disagree. I thought that cold open had a little bit of a chilling aspect to it. Especially because it's not like we don't see it. We just don't see it in the cold open.
Yeah, you see
Um,
the aftermath after. I'm just saying, at this point in the show, like introducing two randos who we don't care about, and also like one of them literally looks like she literally has a stick shoved up her ass. It's like her facial expression throughout the entire conversation. Like she just got this like glaring furrowed brow, looking angry the entire and uncomfortable the entire time. Anyway, that's just a side note. The point is, I don't care about either of these characters. I don't know who they are. I know I'm not going to see them again,
but
and they're relaying like important things I already know to be important because I played the game and I know what the
well,
spores are.
that's the thing, Jason, is
Yeah.
this isn't again, I don't know how many times I'll have to say it as we cover like TV shows that are adaptations. Like these things aren't made for us
Yes,
necessarily.
but if you don't know, then it's just confusing.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
Especially
But
considering we've already been introduced to a bunch of mysteries regarding the infection, like the random shit in the pipe in Jackson, which or the smart ones will get paid off, like not really paid off, just we get more of them. There are a lot of mysteries surrounding the infected that this season has introduced that haven't really paid off yet. Like we're not
well,
really understanding like why these things are. It's just like here's a new thing about, when on the
so
rare occasion we decide to put the infected in this show that takes place in an infected post-apocalypse.
I mean, to be fair, the season's not over, the show's not over. It's already renewed for a third season, so it's like these mysteries don't have to get paid off until the very end of the show. But that all being said, I think that that cold open served a purpose, and it wasn't to introduce us to characters that aren't in the end going to matter. It was to set up
A
the
scene.
mystery that does get
It's
paid off toward the
exposition,
end.
yeah.
Yeah, and it gets paid off toward the end of the episode where we actually do see it. Ellie does go down into the basement of the Ground Zero hospital, and she does see the spores, and we do see the woman's son, uh, kind of embedded in
No,
all of that cordyceps.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which
I,
looked
I was
really
just simply,
cool.
I was simply trying to explain from like trying to put myself in the shoes of a non-gamer. Like there are these mysteries that have been set up, and yes, you're right that this particular one, the spores, does get paid off in this episode, but we still got mysteries pending that like,
Yeah, but that's fine. They don't. Not everything has to be answered in the span of a single episode. It's not a monster
and
of the
then
week type show.
I
It's
know,
an ongoing narrative.
I know, and
But
honestly, my most important thing was just that in the beginning, it should have just been a scene of guys under in the actual basement encountering this for the first time. It would have been
no,
more.
I don't agree
It would
with
have been
that.
more compelling, more of a hook.
I don't agree with that because I think it sets up a mystery of its own, right? And there's this whole aspect of this woman. She had to leave people behind. And she didn't want to do it, but she knew it was the right thing to do. And then that final line, sorry about your son. Like, at least I think that's what the line was, if not verbatim, very close to it. But like, man, that's a tough decision to make. And I think that that was a really big stinger on the end of a very chilling cold open. No, I thought that was a lot better than you're giving it credit for. Personally, I don't know what other Delilah. What did you think about that?
Um, I think that the show structurally has to do that because there's like they even did that in the next episode, episode 6, where like they
Oh
set
yeah,
up
we'll
something
get
and
to
it
that.
seems pretty like useless at first, and then when they eventually like show off why they had to show that little snippet, it's like, oh, okay, I see why they did that. And so it feels very piecemeal in that way. But I think like had this is the the TV show adaptation's way of notes, I suppose. Like this would have been probably a note that we read about in the
Yeah,
game to like fill in the environment. This is their way of environmental storytelling, I suppose. So I'm giving it some grace, but I do, it can be confusing, especially because we're being introduced to so many different characters at once, like the WLF, the Seraphites, and it's like, well, who are these people? What are they doing? What's the purpose?
Right.
And
That's kind of my point, is that it makes it's just better for a TV audience to just show it rather than have two characters talk about it tangentially. It just makes for better television, better entertainment. That's all. That's the only point I'm trying to get. It's show don't tell.
Uh, this isn't that
If
I don't
if,
know.
if we knew if we knew these characters already, it might be different, but we don't.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was good because especially because like those are the aspects of like the first season that I liked the most, where like those cold opens, like the one that in Jakarta talking about the cordyceps and how the only way
yeah.
to like the one mycologist saying like, oh, you like what's the what how can we maintain this or control this, and she's basically just like burn it down. You just got
Hmm.
to blow up the city. Basically saying like there is no way to maintain this, there is no way to control this or contain it. Contain it is the word I'm looking for. And that was like such a chilling cold open, and it was just it was just people conversing, and this was kind of going for a similar thing and setting up yet another thing for the cordyceps, which I like how the spores is kind of being treated as an evolution
Hmm.
of the infection. It's like they kind of made a big hubbub about it not being a thing in the first season of the show, and how it was the tendrils, the vines, whatever you want to,
Hmm.
the roots, however, whatever you want to refer to
The
those
tendrils,
as.
yeah.
Yeah. And then for it to the for spores to actually be like a reality here in this continuity, as kind of like the worst case scenario, the worst stage of this infection. um which makes sense. Like it is a much easier and dangerous and a significantly more dangerous way for the infection to spread. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think it was really, really well done. But
I think the whole scene in and of itself was amazing. Like I was honestly creeped out looking at the way they did the makeup and stuff like that, having the people like embedded into the cordyceps.
I mean,
It was so cool.
crazy, like like you gotta imagine how much time it took to set a lot of that up.
Yeah.
Because I from the looks of it, a lot of it, if not all of it, looked very practical, like not entirely digitized, just like very practical effects. It must have taken some time to set that up, and it was really cool. It was really, really cool.
Yeah. What didn't work for me though was
Oh, okay, all right, uh-huh.
Ellie. um so there was like this very jarring transition of happy-go-lucky Ellie, we just had sex, woohoo, yay, we love each other, blah blah blah. To then Dina tells this like backstory about herself, and then all of a sudden something clicks in Ellie, which honestly, what should have clicked was seeing her dad's head get bashed in. And so again, it's just like I had this complaint in the before, and this
Yeah,
it just continues that through line of
Yeah,
I just don't.
they don't. They seem like they're on a fucking travel date, not a quest for vengeance. Yeah,
yeah. We talked about this at length in the last episode, and I still agree with that completely. Is Yeah, that conversation was about Dina's first kill, right?
Yeah, when she was like 8.
Yeah,
Which it would be weird to then suddenly remember your revenge quest just because your girlfriend told her you a story about when she was 8. So again, that didn't work for me. And then her performance, I feel like her angry Ellie, her hateful Ellie is not working. It's just not believable. I don't it feels very forced. And that scene where she's killing Nora and like kind of bashing her head in, right? Is um I remember in the game that being such a moment of seeing Ellie's like really descending into darkness, and the facial expressions, like how is it that a video game's facial expression is so much more believable than a person. um and that was just like a good in the game, a good sort of demonstration of like how far graphics have come and how like top tier Naughty Dog is in demonstrating that. And to see it brought to life, it didn't hit as hard as I hoped it would.
Yeah, it feels like rather than being angry, Bella Ramsey, the actress, was going for more of like a cold, emotionless, but it just looks like kind of a blank stare
Yeah,
where
and
she's just like kind of whereas I'm doing a blank stare for folks who are listening. But
something
like, yeah.
something that I don't know that we've considered, at least not maybe enough, is because it's not like Neil Druckmann isn't involved with this show or Hallie Gross. They're both involved with this show. So it almost makes me wonder, like, we're sitting here complaining how certain things, XYZ aren't
Oh, for sure,
enough
Druckmann made
enough like
changes of his own volition. Yeah.
right, like I'm wondering if no, if these differences are intentional, if they do want to kind of change the tone, the mood of the characters, the scene, the plot point, for whatever reason, maybe it's uh, um outside opinions coming from the other directors, the other writers, Craig Mazin. I have no idea, but it's possible they're not trying to emulate and trying and failing to emulate what the game did, but are intentionally changing it, and it's just not resonating as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
especially
just something to throw out there, you know.
especially like given, back to Dina for a moment. It seems like here Dina is almost the one pushing Ellie along to an extent, rather than in the game where just becomes a kind of side plot device to compel her to go back because she gets sick and whatnot.
It's like a different method of supporting Ellie, whereas in the game she was
Yeah,
just along for the ride to do whatever she needed, whereas here, yeah, it almost does seem like she's egging her on, like
and it almost
this is what
it
we
almost
need to
makes
do.
Ellie look incompetent because she's lacking all of this basic survival knowledge that we know she should have. And Dina is constantly pointing out, like, "Hey, you need to bring all this shit. Hey, I'm gonna use the map to triangulate where it just when Ellie is actually, seeming like she's on a path for vengeance, she just fucking looks like an idiot because she misses the most obvious thing.
Yeah,
Well, then again,
they
when
nerfed
she
her.
I view it less as they nerfed her and more that they're giving Dina more of a purpose other than to just be along for the ride, you know? Like she
Yeah,
Well,
is
that's
more
true.
of a necessary player in this quest.
I have no problem with that. One of my big complaints about the original game was that Dina just became a silent plot device. The way, because as I just said, they find out she's pregnant, but she also gets sick and needs to go back. So it's kind of a thing pulling her back. When what Dina should have been the entire time was the moral compass trying to point Ellie back away from vengeance. And I find it weird that they're just having Dina here lean into it, like "fuck yeah, let's go." It's
Yeah.
like there's no contrast between the characters to create any dramatic tension. It's weird.
And it'll be interesting with to see where that goes.
But yeah, I was just thinking that too.
Especially considering
Without
where they
giving
end
too
up.
much
Yeah,
without giving
without
anything
spoiling.
away. Yeah. It'll be very interesting. Let's talk about that continuing with things that I don't know. Not to say that make Ellie seem incompetent, but like to play into kind of the strengths of Ellie versus the strengths of Dina. That scene with the stalkers in that warehouse as they're trying to sneak toward the hospital. Um I thought that was a pretty cool scene, kind of a bit of an action sequence, kind of creating some tension with more and more of them showing up every time like the camera shows the stalkers and like, oh, they've multiplied, now there's three. Oh, now there's a ton behind us. Oh my god, it's like we walked into a hive. Like,
Yeah.
what'd you guys kind of think of that whole, I guess, action scene of the episode?
Like this episode and all of the action scenes in the other episodes, with the exception of what happened to Jackson, have been really solid. And I think the combination of the makeup and the body acting of the whoever's playing these stalkers are doing a really good job and like feeling really creepy and demonstrating like the differences between a stalker and a clicker and just a regular infected. So that all has kind of excelled from season 1 and I think continues to.
And not to mention the best part of this show or this season so far, for what little he's in it, fucking
Jesse.
Jesse.
Yeah.
Jesse's the fucking best part of this episode, man. He's got the best dialogue. He's got the least amount of dialogue, but the dialogue he has actually fits the moment and says exactly what the audience is thinking.
Yeah, I loved the line where he was like, think I
You
fucking
think
want to
I
talk
want
to
to
you
fucking
right
talk to
now?
you? Which is, yeah, him fucking putting Ellie in her place because in this show, she's a fucking sociopathic, incompetent idiot.
All right. All right. Um
But yes,
yeah.
Jesse is here, and I didn't even care
Jesse's
that it
here.
doesn't explain how precisely they were able to track them to this specific site. I didn't care because Jesse was there.
um yeah, enjoyed Jesse showing up, their escape. I the scene, and going right from the scene with the stalkers into the like that park with the Seraphites. It's interesting. It's almost like a remix of of some of the stuff that happened in the game,
Yeah.
condensed, for an hour of television, which the next episode also does in a very smart way, and we'll talk about that. But um, yeah, the Seraphites bit and seeing kind of them first, like the cast seeing them firsthand do what they do. Dina being the one to be shot with an arrow.
Yeah, and I liked
Um,
how they had because obviously in the game, at any point, it's either just you or you and one other. They kind of had the trio there. They set that up, and yeah, I thought that was a pretty good scene. It was well filmed. The lighting was good to
yeah.
give it that atmosphere. Um, no, I agree that what happens immediately after they escape the Seraphites with Ellie, well, I guess we'll get to. I think that's a bit of a contrivance the way they just teleport her from there to right behind Nora. But
Well, they again, it's another instance of them kind of condensing what
condensing a lot of
happens in the game into just a few minutes of television. And
no, I know, but it still feels like oh, she crawled under a hole. Cut to scene where she's behind Nora. Like the fuck?
Yeah. I will say that Seraphite scene though did feel a lot like the game. Like it really, I think the perspective really felt like a stealth section, which was kind of
yeah,
nice. I like when
Right.
they go video gamey with the action scenes sometimes. Sometimes, not all the time.
yeah.
Yeah, they just capture that particular moment though, where the three of them are going through the brush and then come across the Seraphites. Well filmed, well acted because Jesse's the only one talking, and yeah, no, just general atmosphere. I agree. That's a nice little shot.
This is something that's like still crazy from the games or from the game and also from within the show. But I don't know how anyone can whistle that good. It's crazy to me.
I can whistle pretty fucking good.
I can whistle decently. I cannot whistle like they can whistle. It's fucking incredible.
The whole whistling
Um,
thing I always found to be stupid, even in the game, just because if you're using whistling for military communications, you can only whistle within earshot, which means your fucking enemies can hear you.
yeah, but it's not about whether or not they can hear you. It's about whether or not they know what you're saying. That's the point.
No, I understand, but you would think eventually take enough prisoners, figure it out. Anyway, just
Well, we saw that.
not a huge. We don't need to argue about that,
I
but
don't know. I feel like taking them prisoner. We saw a Seraphite taken prisoner and tortured for information, and they didn't give anything up. I have a feeling that like
yeah, but eventually you're gonna find somebody who will crack. It doesn't really matter. I just find it from a tactical perspective to be fucking stupid. Even if you can't understand it, you know they're there.
but that's all right. That's not the point. But we don't have to get
I know,
hung up
I
on
know.
that.
It was just an aside that I always thought it was stupid, even from the game.
So the contrivance of Ellie suddenly being behind Nora aside, what did we think of the Ellie and Nora confrontation?
Said what I felt. I didn't. It wasn't very believable. It didn't. The way it played out, also, like I just felt like Ellie was kind of stupid in that moment. Um, it's like almost like she was trying to like do what Abby did in a way, by
Yeah.
like having this whole like monologue before threatening or whatever.
Well,
Um,
the funny thing is, it was all pulled directly from the game. It was the same conversation, which once again,
Was it? I don't remember her
yeah,
saying all the stuff about Salt Lake City
maybe not the Salt Lake City stuff, but
because
the
at that point in the game we hadn't learned all that.
So yeah, that part wasn't there. So yeah, there were some aspects that were new. But at least the introduction, like, you remember me? Yeah, you remember me. Whole bit.
Yeah,
Some of the rest of the conversation was the same. The Salt Lake City thing, yes, you are correct. That was new because we didn't know that at the time. Um, we didn't know that the doctor was Abby's father by
but
that
it
point in the
does because Ellie says "I know" in response, so that is for new audiences the first time they know that Ellie knows
I
about what
guess,
happened
yeah.
at Salt Lake City.
I guess that's true by that
Because
point, yeah.
obviously that we'll get into the next episode, but
Yeah. Yeah, true. But y yeah, I feel like to level that opinion about Ellie feeling like, I guess, kind of an idiot in that moment, it's kinda similar to how she was in the game too.
yeah,
The
oh no,
only
for sure.
difference being I don't quite remember there being them like running through like an area with a bunch of other guards. I know people did catch on to the fact that Ellie was there. I kind of can't remember. It's been a
Yeah,
bit
no,
since I
you don't.
played the game.
Yeah, you don't run through the same kind of area, but overall the sequence is pretty much the same. Like you said, just like in the game, Ellie stupidly runs at Nora rather than keep her gun pointed, which allows Nora to escape. And then she bangs her over the head with the pipe in the spore hallway with the red light.
Yeah, which I think
And
paid off in the game pretty well, but not so much the show.
well, yeah, in the game, it's in the game. It also wasn't so much of a juxtaposition because Ellie was already, as you mentioned, Delilah. Like Ellie wasn't like a bratty little come off as a bratty little preteen. Like you could tell
She
from
was
the
on
early
her
in the
path,
game.
on her
Yeah,
dark
yeah.
path. Yeah. What did
Did you
you think,
guys
Mark?
did you guys think it was weird that they in order for the episode or the show to continue playing, you had to keep pressing play during the torture scene? Did you guys find that strange? I'm making a joke, a really bad
Yes,
joke.
because you had to press the square button to actually have Ellie hit her with the pipe. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Sorry, I'm
Sorry.
slow.
It's okay. No, it came to me. I was like,
I
oh,
would have given the show some credit, even if it's not a good idea, to have done that, to have made Max
no,
pause.
that would have been a fucking terrible idea. Don't
It's a
do
terrible idea, but I would have given them some credit for at least like, pulling like a Kojima memory card type moment, or not,
fuck.
or the controller port moment.
This is HBO's what was that show on Netflix? What's that fucking what Black Mirror, right? Black Mirror Bandersnatch. That was like a show that was actually interactive. Yeah, have this be HBO's version of that. You
No,
got to
like
press
you said,
play
it's a
to
terrible
have
idea
Ellie
for mass
back
audiences,
Nora with the
but it
pipe.
would have been appreciated by people who played the game and liked it.
I think people that played the game would have found it fucking dumb too. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I thought it was fine. It was mostly, again, mostly the same. They got the red lighting going on, which evoked that feeling of rage and kind of an uncomfortable setting.
No,
Um,
the production values for sure are there. It's a good
yeah,
shot with great lighting that, like all the other moments that they're specifically like the guitar sequence or the
Yeah.
stuff in the woods with the
hmm
Sarah, when they're trying to emulate those nice looking shots from the game, they do it very well.
yeah.
I think me and Delilah are more pointing out that Bella Ramsey just isn't up to snuff for it.
I don't really have a negative opinion of Bella Ramsey necessarily. I just
It
think
could be
that like
direction. We don't know. We're not
I
behind
think
the
it really
scenes.
is
Yeah.
more direction because this is a problem that I feel with every character whenever they pull the script directly from the game. I've said it a bajillion times and I'll say it again. Every time dialogue is pulled directly from the game, it is performed worse. And
It also could be affected by the lighting of the scene because Bella Ramsey doesn't have her she has an extremely smooth, she's got a baby face and it's very smooth and
yeah,
very little wrinkling or any like distinguished features that can really capture light so it could be that she was doing a good job and it just looks like
I
she's
mean,
straight faced because of the lighting. Who knows?
yeah, I don't know. I do think that I mean this can be our transition into the next episode, but we do get a shot of her returning to the theater in the aftermath of that, and it's raining. She could have washed her face off, but the fact that her face didn't have any blood, I don't know. Maybe we'll see ramifications in the next episode, the
Mm,
finale from that torture sequence, but it didn't really seem like, I don't know. It didn't feel horrific like it did in the game, and maybe
yeah.
that's my one issue with it. Um, Other than Tati Gabrielle like screaming in pain, but and that was something also. Um,
There's also something to mention, like you said, doesn't feel like it does in the game. If you remember in the game, the camera is also moving and your controller's vibrating with each swing, whereas
Mhm.
this was a still shot, so that might contribute to that.
I mean it's yeah, there's
So
certain things.
it feels more brutal than just a still shot of a little girl swinging down a pipe. You know,
There's
Yeah.
definitely a difference in immersion between the two, and that I don't know. It didn't bother me, but I'm pretty indifferent toward it. Like, it's far from my favorite part of the episode, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Uh, I think
Um,
it wouldn't have. Sorry, go ahead.
no, the only other thing was like her gasping from the spores, going back to just talking about the spores and that whole lead in, like that was the spore bringing the spores in as like this final stage is cool. I
Yeah.
really like that, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of that because we know there will probably be more of it.
Yeah. I
Go
think
ahead, Delilah.
more and more because like The Last of Us Part 2 the game, it's like the story was designed specifically for the medium, and I feel like that's showing up more as we watch the show. There's so many things that just aren't working as well for me because of the way the story was designed to be told. I do feel like that immersive aspect of it is very crucial to pretty much the point of the game.
which
Um
yeah, getting into somebody's shoes and then tearing you out and putting it in another person's. Yeah,
and also just seeing Ellie's descent into darkness, like there was a lot of moments where we had to kind of sit with that and experience that from her perspective. So again, like it's not the TV's fault that like video game, storytelling can be more immersive, especially for this specific game. It's just I really do think it's the acting, honestly, because I think she does young Ellie really well, which we can get into with the next episode,
yeah.
and that worked for me. But anytime she's older Ellie, it's really just it's I'm not expecting her to be like Ellie from the game, but and she wasn't like young Ellie. Her Bella Ramsey's versions of young Ellie wasn't like exactly like young Ellie in the game. She
But
made
it
it
was
kind
fine.
but it was fine, right? Whereas this is older Ellie versus it's just not working.
I
So I
agree, and
So,
I've seen other people who didn't play the game say the same exact thing, that the actress who plays Abby should have been cast as Ellie for this,
I mean,
because
that I
and
don't agree with
it's not just the
necessarily.
acting, it's also the writing, because the actress, as I've said multiple times, who plays Dina, she seems like she's a fantastic actress. It's just the writing makes them seem much younger than in the game, where you have Dina talking to Ellie and kind of teaching her about the Holocaust as you're walking through like a synagogue that's been abandoned, as opposed to the CW level rom com type shit we're getting between
Man,
Dina and Ellie throughout this season.
the fuck do you have against the CW, Jason? Damn.
It's just general phrase, like it's just slop TV writing. But
Man.
the I guess the more point is that, and as I've mentioned multiple times, these don't seem like kids that grew up, or not even kids, young adults that have grown up in the apocalypse. That's all they know. Um, just lots of little things throughout, and we don't need to get into every one, but like details they'll mention and things they'll say and ways they behave and perceive things that makes them seem like young teens out of the 2020s rather than 19-year-olds that were born into and have only known, you know, the fucking plagued zombie apocalypse.
All
Um,
right.
it's just
So,
yeah,
I mean, just two notes that, before we move on to the next episode, because we got to move on to the next episode. We talked about a little bit about it before, but I don't. I can definitely see and agree to an extent about Bella Ramsey pulling off young Ellie and not pulling off older Ellie as well. Um, the challenge there is that the only choice besides recasting the other age of the actress, which they're not that far in away in age, that it would make sense to do that in my opinion, would be to like digitally either
I mean,
de-age or increase her age.
5 years through puberty does a lot.
I
So
know,
recasting would
but
not have been a big deal.
well, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but a lot of people would probably have problems with that. Regardless, it's there's not much they can do, whereas a video game that's a lot easier to do. Ashley Johnson just has to kind of change her voice a little bit, and the motion capture just translates to a younger or an older version of the character.
For sure.
There's their options are a little more limited here than they are in a video game. So just want to throw that out there as to kind of counterbalance that criticism a little bit.
But yes, but also like I think about like younger Anakin Skywalker and then like older descending into darkness Anakin Skywalker, and like there was such a difference, like the facial range that he had, like even though he didn't look any older, demonstrated like an older, darker. So that's kind of like what I was going for. I just wanted to see a more effective, like darker Ellie, even if she looks like a kid. It's less about her appearance for me than it is about her facial acting. I think
So
is what I'm
so
getting
what you're saying is you really need Bella Ramsey to be like, I hate spores.
at.
They get everywhere. You will not take her away from me.
I killed them. I killed the Seraphites, not just the men, but the
They're
women
like
and the
animals.
children. They're
And
like
I
animals.
slaughtered them like animals.
I hate them. Um, and the other thing is, just Delilah, you said that this story was tailor made and fit more with a video game. I don't know that I totally agree with that. Because there's a lot of things that the video game could have done with its premise that it doesn't do. But that's a whole other can of worms.
Sure.
That we
Yeah, we
may
should
or may
probably
not have
wait till the
talked about.
finale. We should probably wait till the finale episode to like discussing in totality. Yeah, I think I know where you're going with
See,
it.
I don't even think we can because the finale episode isn't going to be
It
the
only goes so
full.
far, yeah.
It's not even going to be covering the full video game of The Last of Us Part 2. Spoilers for that, but I feel like that can't be too big of a spoiler to put out there. You're going to have to know that
I don't. I
sooner
don't
or
think.
later.
Well, I can't. Obviously, non-gamers wouldn't even know. But I think for all us who played the game, we knew that
That's why
this
I'm
wasn't going to
that's
cover the
that's
totality.
why I'm
Yeah.
calling it out as a spoiler, but it's like you're gonna have to find out one way or the other if you are a listener that didn't play the game, that is just watching the show and is listening to us
I'll
talk
just
about
And
say
it.
to that though, I'm actually surprised. I thought they were gonna change the structure of it initially from the first episode because they revealed so much of who Abby is head on that I thought they were gonna like do like a back and forth thing. So
I did too, but
yeah,
yeah,
speaking of changing the
yeah.
structure,
We'll talk. Yeah. Now that we're getting into episode 6, we need to talk about structure because the show is almost as all over. It's actually more all over the place, I think, structurally than the game. But
oh, I
let's get
don't
into
agree
it.
with that, but
Well, specifically, we'll talk about with this episode.
well, okay, this episode, it took all the flashbacks that happened throughout the game and condensed them into a single episode, and I really
And
liked this
added some.
episode.
So
More so changed some, I would say, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't like the episode. I like all of the scenes, almost all of the scenes in the episode.
Okay.
And I'll say the same thing I said about the game here. The scene, which is pretty much the same of going to the museum with the dinosaur for a birthday, should have been the opening scene of the game, just like it should have been the opening scene of the show here to
Like,
establish. All right, we're picking up here, and then you hard cut after that scene to Ellie being older, and then you spread these flashbacks throughout the season because all of it at once is just jarring as an episode. It puts a hard stop on the story that we were just following,
Yeah, but I
It
feel
feels
like
more like an info dump plus extra lore to Joel that's not from the games that is only there to have Lalo from Better Call Saul in this show.
hey, you better not have a problem with Tony Dalton showing up in
I
this
don't have
show.
I don't have a problem with an actor, but it needs to have a point, which it really doesn't here.
It's a very loose point. It's a
Yeah,
very
I
loose point.
understand what they're trying to do. It just like it doesn't work. It's not
It
necessary.
it's funny that you say it's funny that you have issues with them putting all of it that it's more confusing because I feel like more people didn't like that there were all these flashbacks throughout the game that were all taking place at different time periods, and
It
I feel like
makes
this
more
makes it a
sense for a
lot
TV
more.
show like this. And I said for the game that the museum sequence should have been the opening of the game
Yeah,
to give us an establishment of here's where we were at the end of the first game. And so it's not as jarring for viewers to come in at the beginning of this season and Ellie just is a fucking jackass
see,
who
I
is being sociopathically brutal to Joel.
she's not okay. Okay. Um, Delilah, top level thoughts. What did you think of
Um,
this episode?
I thought this was one of the better episodes for sure. I really liked that the beginning sequence with the dad. At first I was like, "Oh, we're getting Joel lore backstory. That's dope." But then I realized eventually it was just for to tug at the heartstrings when it came to, being a better parent or whatever. Um so I guess ultimately it didn't pay out in the way that I hoped. But it's fine. It served its purpose. It didn't bother me. What what I really liked though is I felt like the conversation about Joel telling the truth and the way that happened um made a lot more sense in parallel to Eugene's story because it I feel like her realizing that he's a liar um after seeing him lie firsthand would make more sense why that conversation would come out versus I think in the game they were just on a mission together and she had been wanting to ask him.
She goes out to Salt Lake City on her own.
It's
Right.
yeah, it's like a combination of those things. Like she had this sowing doubt through her mind, and eventually she takes a horse and goes out to Salt Lake City. Joel follows her, and that's where she does like the whole confrontation. But I
Right.
agree with you, Delilah. I think that this was a much more organic and interesting way of getting of her coming to that realization without confronting him, just getting the evidence like firsthand and calling him out on it for something completely different.
Yeah.
So I understand where you guys are coming from that it's more organic. The problem I have is that and I'm just going to refer to Eli as Cypher because that's all I can see. He's old man Cypher.
Who?
Cypher from the Matrix. The actor who plays Eli, the guy he shoots, or Eugene, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Oh, Eugene. Okay.
Yeah, the pot growing guy.
Yeah, you said Eli, and
That
I'm like,
his
who the fuck are you talking about?
yeah, the one with the bitch psychiatrist wife that is annoying.
Jesus Christ. Here we
I
go.
understand where you guys are coming from, and I agree that it's a bit of a more organic way. The problem is that the whole scenario they set up to get to that, like Joel is absolutely in the right. He's lying for a good reason. Like and he's getting Ellie away so that he can do what needs to be done. Because he's absolutely right. You don't take him back alive. You don't know if he will turn infected and accidentally bite you on your way back. You have no idea what will happen.
And that's
Okay.
the only thing.
And so Ellie having that outbreak and just telling as Joel is trying to comfort Eli or Eugene's wife, um, just makes her even more unlikable than this show has already made her.
She's a
Because she
teenager, and
yes, I
she's
understand
pissed at
that.
Joel because he lied to her. What she
I
did, I think, is totally
understand that, but
justified.
like, and yes, that might be realistic, but for the purposes of writing, the character is already fucking as unlikable as you can make her in this scenario. Like,
No,
now
I
she's
don't
just an
agree with
asshole
that.
for totally ruining what Joel is trying to do, which is completely understandable from any normal human being's perspective.
Well, you also have to look at this from her perspective. She's been around infected people. She herself was infected, technically immune to it, but like if she's pretty sure he had the time, in her mind, she's totally justified, and I get that. And she's already pissed with Joel. She now recognizes without a shadow of a doubt that he has lied to her. She has the evidence right in front of her. No, I don't think there's any issue with what she did. I
Because
think
it
it was
doesn't just
totally
hurt.
realistic.
It doesn't just hurt Joel. It hurts the lady. It hurts everybody in the fucking scenario. And
Yeah, but at the end of the
yes,
day, it's not her fault. She's
and
calling
yes,
him out for something that he did.
even if she can call him out, but you couldn't have waited fucking 5 minutes till you're back, two of you just alone at your house.
I think you're really trying to
She just
defend.
comes off as a fucking asshole. No, and this isn't just me saying this. Like
Oh,
I don't. Well, Jason, I really don't care what anyone but you is saying
I
about
know,
that.
I
aw.
know, but I'm just saying, like,
You both of you. I mean, anyone in this show is like who I care about what they think
no, no,
about
no.
this. I
I
don't really
understand
give
what
a
you're
shit
saying.
about anyone else.
The point I'm trying to make is that in that scenario, Joel is absolutely right. There's no fucking question about that. It's safety protocol. It's protocol for a reason. It only
Yes,
works when you follow it.
but
It's
you still can't blame Ellie for calling him out when she realizes without a shadow of a doubt that
And I
he
don't
lied
blame.
to
I'm
her
not. I think you're missing the point. I'm not blaming her for calling him out. I'm blaming her for calling him out specifically when
when
she
she
did,
did.
which
Okay.
is right in front of the wife as Joel's trying to comfort her and doing what any fucking normal person would do.
But in the heat of the moment, do you think anyone is realistically going to think logically like that?
No, and I agree with you that, like, if this was the real world, I could see a teenager do that. Yes,
Yeah,
but this is also a
exactly.
television show,
Delilah,
and
please talk.
you need to make your fucking protagonist likable, not as unlikable as possible.
think
Delilah,
like how I think in real human ways this would have played out if this wasn't a show is Joel, instead of promising her and saying like literally I promise that I won't, that I'll like let him go see his wife or whatever before he turns, um he wouldn't have said that. He would have been like, Ellie, like enough is enough. We need to do this. This is protocol and it's protocol for a reason. Even if what you're saying about the whole tent, he has enough time, makes sense. We can't, like, he should have just said like, no, like shut up, like we can't put the community at risk regardless. Like that would be a huge mistake on our end. And then ultimately he could have said the same thing together, like he really loved you, he wanted to say things, he even wanted to see you, but we just can't put people at risk. It's a very reasonable reason to not bring someone who's infected back to a settlement. So the communication there was just lacking overall. And then yes, I do agree that even when Ellie discovered that he was lying to her face and giving her a false promise, rather than addressing it right there when this poor woman is grieving over her dead husband, she could have totally had that conversation with Joel, like, bro, you're a fucking liar, like why did you lie to her, and blah blah blah, and let it be like, because it was her addressing him was more about him being a liar to her versus him lying in general, right? Like I think any normal person would understand why he made up this lie for her to feel comforted, um but I think because he just, because she had all this like pent up, anger and doubt about his honesty, it came out right then and there, which is like understandable, but not really like appropriate considering someone just lost their husband. Like at that point, like you've been dealing with this for a long time. You should have worked through those emotions to then have this like blowout when someone else is going through something, I don't want to say worse, but like very new, losing someone right then and there.
Right,
It's
it's a
kind of
very
like not being
narcissistic thing to do.
yeah, it's not
Yes,
being very mindful of the person. So I do think that like I understand why she revealed it ultimately, and it made more sense why that conversation happened at that moment. But I do agree that maybe she should have had that conversation with
and
Joel alone.
just to add some levity, the real reason I'm mad about all this is it creates the impetus for that fucking psychiatrist that we had to deal with in all those early episodes. That was a fucking asshole.
well, she was approached by him asking about the moth thing
I know.
before any of that
Like
happened.
I said,
So
I'm bringing levity. It was a joke.
I
And
think
honestly, to give some praise here to this whole sequence, the scene with Joel and Cipher, old man Cipher, aka
Eugene,
Eugene, by the
Jesus
lake.
Christ.
That was a great scene. Some great dialogue between the two of them. Yeah, that was a
And
good scene.
that's the other thing is like it's multiple layers of untruth, right? He he said to Ellie that like he was going to try to bring him back, and then he broke that promise. And then it and then he starts telling Catherine O'Hara's character, whatever her name is, I can't recall off the top of my head. Uh,
Gail.
Gail, thank you. He starts telling her a different version of the story. So he lied to Ellie, and now he's lying to her right in front of Ellie, and she's not having any of it. Especially
Yeah.
when she now again has that evidence, has that proof that he lied to her about Salt Lake City.
And I mean, at the end
Um,
of the day, this all goes back to, and we've already mentioned it, that of why making a sequel to these specific characters is such a bad idea. Because in both the end of the first game and the end of the first season, my interpretation is always that Ellie knows he was lying, but accepts it anyway because of the relationship they built.
Mhm.
So it
right.
is extraordinarily jarring. It's left ambiguous, obviously,
Yes,
but a lot of people, including myself, interpreted it that way.
I
So it
did
is
too.
very jarring
I
to have that be
yeah.
the crux of
I
Ellie's conflict here.
I agree, but again, we're way too far beyond that to
Yeah, I know, I know.
still sit here and rehash that argument or that complaint. Let's talk about other aspects of the episode. I mean, we talked a bit about the whole throughput that they were trying to get through with the cold open, the flashback to Joel as a child with Tony Dalton playing his father was this whole throughput of when you have some of your own, I hope you do a little better than I did, and that's what he says to Ellie at the end of the episode when we get their makeup scene, kinda, and they kind of hash things out after the New Year's party, and I wasn't totally convinced we were going to get that this season. I thought that was going to happen next season, so I'm really glad it didn't. They didn't wait that long for it, and I think that might have been the best scene of the season.
Mhm.
Personally, I thought it was incredibly well done, well acted, and well performed, and very emotional. And the throughput um of Joel with his father coming through here aside, because ultimately I feel like that's a fairly loose connection. The best part about that was it got us to see Tony Dalton in this show, and I love him. Um, I don't know. What did you guys think
it,
of that scene? Because I loved it. I thought it was
it
great.
The
it could
opening or
also
The
reconciliation?
ending, the reconciliation.
Okay. Delilah,
um
continue. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say that I also think that that exact statement, like "be better than I was," is potentially some foreshadowing. So I'll leave that at that.
Whoa,
But it's an
okay, I like
interesting,
that.
if they keep using that, I could see them using it in an interesting way. So like I said, although in the beginning I was like, oh, that felt like a bad, like not such a good payout. I think it did pay out in the end. I do think the performance between both Bella Ramsey and um Joel, what's his name? You know his name anyway. Um
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal. I thought it was really good. It was very emotional. The only thing I didn't like, that was just a little nitpick, is that I don't think there was ever a confirmation that the cure would have worked. And so when
Yeah,
Joel
That is the one.
yeah.
confirmed that,
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know if I like that because
I
that makes
was
it seem worse.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I mean, I already have all the same problems with the scene that I did in the game, which is that there's no credence given to all of the. It wasn't a black and white situation where Ellie was gonna die, there was gonna be a cure, and everything was gonna be la la land. Like,
Yeah.
and all the reasons why it made
unless
complete moral sense for Joel to do what he did.
I mean,
And it makes it even worse when they have Joel explicitly acknowledge, oh, there would have been a cure. Like, because we
unless there
know,
was something in the first season where they said for sure that like we will be able to develop a cure, but if we harvest her brain,
I don't remember. I know
I
obviously in
don't
the
either.
game there's side material you can collect where there have been immune kids before that they experimented on and they died. Um, I don't remember in the first season. I can't recall if they acknowledged any of that or said 100%. I mean, either way, realistically, like it's hard to believe they would have been 100% regardless. It's just not how medicine or science works.
Yeah. There's no way to know unless it happened, which it didn't.
Yeah, that I will agree with you guys completely. There is that is the one line that bothered me. I actually even said out loud, like, you don't know that.
Yeah.
Like,
I did too. I was like,
no,
really, Joel?
don't say yes. Say I don't know. Maybe, possibly, potentially, but
Yeah.
you don't know that the answer to that question is yes. Um, yeah, that bothered me too. Is one of the few things that bothered me, or the only thing probably that bothered me about that scene. Otherwise, I thought that scene was so damn good and just so damn emotional.
Yeah.
Um, just very, very well done. In spite of my most common complaint is that when they rip dialogue straight from the game, or moment straight from the game, it's not as well done, and that's not the case here. I feel like it, even if
Yeah.
it wasn't verbatim the same, like it was very similar, and I thought it was very, very well done.
Speaking of which, just real
Yeah.
quick, from the I don't remember if I asked or I didn't ask, the museum sequence. Was the Jurassic Park line in there? I don't remember hearing it.
I don't think that was pretty truncated. It's weird
Well,
because
because it's a gameplay as sequence where you're walking, yeah.
yeah, I don't think the Jurassic Park line was there.
Oh, that was
But
a great
like
line.
the whole
Yeah.
bottom floor with the dinosaurs wasn't really present in the episode, but they clearly had a set for it because if you watched the after the episode featurette about the making of the episode, they're in that room with the other dinosaur skeletons and stuff, and I'm
Oh.
like, where was that? Like we didn't
Yeah.
see any of that set. It
They
was
could at
just
least
not
showed it.
there. I
Yeah.
wonder if I wonder if there's stuff what there was stuff filmed there and they had to edit it and cut it for
Oh.
for us to meet a 60-minute running time.
Mhm.
That's my hypothesis or my guess about it, but who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe there will be an extended cut of the episode available on the 4K Blu-ray coming soon to
I don't know.
an Amazon near you. I also thought the space sequence was really that was pretty close to the game, and that was um
It
very
was the best
good.
scene in the game, and it is the best scene so far in this show, or this season, I should say.
Mhm.
Yeah, arguably
Yeah,
I
it was
put
good.
close to it. Yeah, it was very good. Um yeah, I mean we saw some other bits, some other birthdays. They always had this kind of through like the storytelling was always through Ellie's birthdays throughout the years of them being
Right.
in Jackson. And like we got a teenage rebellion kind of scene of her having a girl in her room. It was her one ex-girlfriend, Kat, I think her name was.
Mhm.
And that's where she got the tattoo, and that's what spawned Joel to ask
About
Gale
the
about the
moths.
moths. Which I thought was good, an interesting kind of just thing about her character, and give a little more insight into the symbolism there. Um, but yeah, I overall really liked this episode. Might be my favorite episode of the season, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I still like Joel dying more
Hmm.
just because, I mean,
Wonder
Because you
why it's
hate
your
Joel, you
favorite.
fucking hate that guy. You wanted him to get smacked over the head with the golf club. I know you, Delilah. I know you hate him.
it was just such a I just it was such an emotional moment in the game for me and in the
I know.
show even, and then yeah, the way they played the song, I mean, I mentioned that already. The I really like that song from the trailer, and the way they implemented it
No,
in the show is just really
What
good.
it was good.
future days?
No,
Yeah. Oh, I keep saying yeah, but I forget what it's called.
it's Through the Valley.
Through the Valley, yeah.
Uh,
Oh, oh.
Hold on. I know I looked this up 2 episodes ago.
Well,
Through
yeah,
the
you asked me, and
Valley.
I'm pretty sure that's just a cover of a song that's been covered like a bunch of times, right?
Well, it's a cover. It was Ashley Johnson singing, but the song was originally by Sean James.
Okay.
Through the Valley.
But this
Uh,
was a better episode for sure, episode 6. Better than the
yeah,
others.
I really liked this episode
I actually
overall.
liked seeing some like of the in-universe world building that comes in here, like Joel bartering with a bunch of Legos he found
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
for
that was
yeah.
that was actually like some for all the complaints I have about Jackson looking like a new urban or suburban development and all the clothes looking fresh and all that nitpick is like this was a nice moment where like, hey, this is how things would work in the apocalypse. You barter for like
mhm.
items, like he's bartering for vanilla to use with the cake and frosting and whatnot.
Well, it was for Seth to make the cake.
or to make the
Yeah.
and he he misspells Ellie's name. I think
Oh,
that's
maybe
why I
that's
said
why you're
Eli.
thinking
Yeah,
Eli.
I think that's why I said Eli because that's
Yeah,
Oh,
and
also, they had like they mentioned Joel drinking coffee. I don't know if that was like a way to explain the coffee beans on the grave that they didn't explain in season
yeah,
1.
I don't
But yeah,
know.
I guess they did
and,
now.
and he does have Joel does have a line with that. Like I'm a bit embarrassed of what I gave to it. I didn't know if like the implication was supposed to be he whored himself out for coffee, like
Oh no, I don't think that.
either that or he just got a bad deal. I don't know, but it was kind of like weird
Yeah.
the
I think the
inclination of his voice.
implication is just that he got a bad deal, but he was so desperate for coffee. It's like in that kind of setting, God, I don't want to think about the things that I would barter for coffee, but I would probably barter some things near and dear if I could get coffee after not having it for how long? I don't know.
Um, but yeah, just like I said at the beginning, I like you guys. I like most of what's in this episode, and I like the scenes. But as an episode, it just crashes what little narrative thrust we had from the previous episodes to a halt to do all these flashbacks, which I do like, with the exception of that opening one. But
Mhm.
I still stick to what I said about the game. The museum sequence should have been the opening, and then these should have been sprinkled throughout,
I,
because that actually works much better for a television show than it does a game.
Now,
I
And it
go ahead,
also keeps
Delilah.
people engaged because a lot of people have really liked this episode, and it's not really a big secret why. It's because you have Joel and you have the same dynamic from that first season that everybody liked.
Yeah, that's true. I thought it was funny how they ended on a cliffhanger for people who haven't played the game. The previous episode on episode 5, like they showed Joel and Ellie at the end, and I think they did it in a way where it was like, oh, well, why is Joel back, right? But you didn't really know that they were gonna go into a flashback sequence at that point.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
the
So,
next episode opens on that same exact shot, which was like, I was kind of a bit jarred. I thought there was like a problem with my streaming. I didn't realize it was the next episode.
No, it
mm,
wasn't the same exact shot because
Yeah, of him walking in and saying, "Wake up, kiddo."
it opens with the flashback with him and his father,
yeah,
so it
yeah, it
can
does.
open with the same shot.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm misconstruing. I think I thought when it goes to that shot in the other
Mm.
episode, I thought it had messed up the streaming.
Well,
Yeah,
I think it didn't when it goes into flashback time, it opens with her in the aftermath of giving herself the chemical burn, doesn't it?
yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm mistaken. I'm
Yeah.
misremembering.
Now, Jason, would you have liked that cold open more if we learned that Joel's father used to be in the Mexican cartel? Would that have made that better for you?
No, because then why would he have the name Miller? This is this is. I said this in our talk about the first season with casting Pedro Pascal. It's like it's Joel Miller has the most Scots Irish name imaginable. Like
Well,
it's a little weird.
it could be that his mother was of like it could be that Tony Dalton's mother was of
Well
Hispanic
now
descent.
they've given us the Joel mini prequel. We know his father's name is Miller, so because
Right, but
it's on his
what if
name.
his mother was of Hispanic descent?
Oh,
His
you mean his
father was
grandmother?
yeah,
Or
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's still possible for him to be of Hispanic descent and have the last name Miller.
It doesn't really matter. I just found it funny.
Yeah.
It's also because Pedro Pascal is just a very overexposed actor, and it happens. Um,
It's true. My cousin's last name is McNamara, so it is possible.
Yeah,
no.
there you go.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I just find it funny.
Yeah.
Um, but
Now, if his name was Joel Salamanca, what would you think?
oh, that'd be sick. I honestly, like if you were gonna have more Timothy Dalton stuff and or Tom
Tony
Dalton,
Dalton. Timothy
not
Dalton is a
Timothy
very
Dalton.
different guy.
Yes, I know. Yes, it's funny because like as I'm coming to that, really, I'm thinking of fucking Hot Fuzz. Um, no, that actually would have been funny if they did that just to cast Pedro Pascal. Um, no,
But
Pedro.
actually, yeah, I mean, Tony Dalton is the perfect antithesis to your argument because Dalton's not a Mexican name.
Yeah, I wasn't arguing anything. I was just
Oh,
saying
okay.
because
All
he has
right,
a Scots Irish.
just
Yeah,
making sure. All right, all right.
honestly, the more substantial component is just that Pedro Pascal is just a overexposed actor.
Uh,
Um,
Whatever, man.
But
I like him.
where were we even at? In
We're
the show?
done. We're
Yeah.
ready to wrap up, I think. If you guys are. You guys got any closing thoughts before we end it?
I'm
Just
disappointed that I didn't get any Isaac for 2
Oh.
episodes. Which
Well,
is last in our last recording, I said I was looking forward to maybe getting more Isaac.
well, I have a feeling season 3 is going to be your season, buddy.
Oh.
If we stick around, I mean, keep in mind the only reason we did this because of you, Delilah. So
I
Oh,
know, I'm
please. It's
sorry.
not like even if this season ends and we all hate it, we're still going to watch the 3rd season. You know we're going to do it.
I'm only watching it if we're doing a recording. But yeah, sure.
But you know we're going to do a recording on it, so we know you're watching it. Like it's a given,
Sensitive.
Okay.
man.
Okay. I
It's a
am
given.
curious to see how they choose to end it next or this
Yeah.
Sunday in the
Yeah.
finale.
I mean, yep, we're getting real close to a finale of this show and a finale episode of Reap the Spoils.
Because again, knowing the game, it's actually very surprising how little they actually did in this season.
Yeah.
It's even less than I think we all thought they would.
Yeah.
I think we all had an idea of where it would end vis-a-vis the game about midway. And that is not what happened at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll see how it goes.
That we shall. Are we good to wrap up? And you guys got any other closing thoughts?
No.
All right.
I keep
Well,
trying to talk the least in all these episodes, and I end up talking the most, and I keep kicking myself. Because I can't just bring up one thing
okay.
without going on a rant.
Well, that part is true, but that's always true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even for things that you like, that's true.
Meanwhile, I'm the opposite. I just keep everything concise.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here like, Delilah, talk, please. I don't want the show to just be Jason and I arguing with each other.
I know. I fail to. I hate talking over people. So if I feel someone
Oh,
cooking,
feel
I
free to
let them
talk
cook.
over me.
I
No, don't
can't.
let
It's
me
just
cook.
not in my nature. I'm a
Don't
social
let me
worker.
cook. You come in and you fucking smack that spatula out of my hand.
All right. If you liked this episode and you watched or listened on YouTube, thank you so much. Please like and comment on the episode. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like. Subscribe to the channel. Share the show with your friends, your family, your pets, your kids. Maybe not your kids. It's up to you. If your kids are old enough to listen to us spout, obscenities and things, that's your decision. But please share the show. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, thank you so much. Please rate and review the show 5 stars preferred. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. You'll be seeing us back here very soon with an episode covering the finale of The Last of Us season 2. I don't think we're gonna quit out here, guys, right? Like we're definitely gonna do a
Oh, yeah,
finale episode, right?
we're locked in.
Yeah, we're
No.
locked in. 3 episodes covering the first 6 episodes, and it would be a shame if we just quit here. Like we can't just
If
quit.
we could get through episode 4, we could get through anything.
It's like not even episode 4, just the last 5 minutes of episode 4.
True. Exactly.
That's still so funny. But that all, yeah. There you go. Uh, Stay tuned for a finale episode coming at you fast, coming at you soon. And as always, thanks for listening.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.